for this year, the summer course will be supported by 18 lecturers who are expert in their field to share their perspective in this topic.
This year, we start to look at more specific ways of reconstructing of Southeast Asia. That is the adoption of what's so-called the narrative of
identity is a dynamic subject, a dynamic focus of discussion. So that's what I understand. So it is always important for us to rediscuss, to try to redefine identity, because our life is dynamic. So I think this is in line with that spirit, that we keep discussing this and keep searching what ASEAN is all about.
We support these events and hope the program will run successfully from the start until the end, and there are many opportunities I think we can cooperate in the future for ASEAN studies. So I think that's all from me, Mas Dwiki. Thank you again. Stay healthy. Happy summer course. Thank you.
Unfortunately and historically, unity has sometimes come to mean homogeneity, intolerance for different views and cultures, a top-down approach, which all of these are decidedly antithetical to diversity, which is heterogeneous, organic, and dynamic. So we would like to borrow the diversity, I would like to borrow the term diversity driven as an approach to understanding the region. It can transform studies of the region into a pathway to inclusiveness and a more nuanced and perhaps fairer understanding of Southeast Asia.
One is the common practices, behavior from the society, which basically very difficult to find a common value. And the other thing is more future-oriented, the common vision that has been much easier to be constructed. But again, we need to take into account as well the future orientation of the political elite can be quite different from the future orientation.
What we've seen over the years since 1979, since the end of democratic Kampuchea, is a strong change over time of how the roles are attributed and what they mean today. Who is a perpetrator, who can be a victim. And we've seen a shift from the generalized demonization in which every Khmer Rouge is seen as the evil other, as a perpetrator, to today universal victimhood and only very, very narrow responsibility for the violence. The discourses of past violence continue to be used today, even though everyone is seen as a victim of it. The image of the Khmer Rouge is still used to stoke fear of this past.
The sameness or commonality implicit in this concept of ASEAN cinema does not cancel out the difference of each country, and Southeast Asian cinema has never been homogeneous. Rather, they are colored with paradox in the reference and translation process. So, although I mentioned a lot about similarities, I don't want to just to say that, oh, all the Asian cinema is homogeneous. No, we still find some difference in each Southeast Asian cinema. Through Southeast Asian cinema, we can see the way culture and society in the region are imagined, but in a dominant and alternative way of seeing. So with that,
the reader, when they start reading the novel or the story, or the audience, when they start watching the movie, they start creating their own meaning. They start doing meaning making. Yeah, and this is why when I watch a movie and Ahmed Ishmael there watches a movie, we might not create the same meaning. Ahmed might watch it and say, well, it's about this, and I was interested in this, and it made me think about this. And I'll say, well, I don't agree with you at all. I think that the movie is really about this, and it made me think about this other idea, and so on. And we've watched the same film, or we've read the same book, but we've created different meanings. Yeah, and this is about the fact that the audience, the reader of the novel, the watcher of the film or television or so on, they're active in their meaning making.
When we think about the Association of Southeast Nations, and surprising as it is, how it even came to be an organization in the first place, is its continued emphasis on non-interference. okay, ASEAN has a core principle, right, in which it states very clearly from the very first day, 1967, when it came to be an organization itself, is that it emphasizes on this thing called non-interference.
Devolutions, in many parts, it's also a good sign to bring the members of country together concerning the Hayes-Burn Revolution, which is Indonesia is usually as the bad boy here, and also has been able to suppress the government of Indonesia to do something, because it's related to diplomatic issue as well. And then that's why the government of Indonesia also has taken several steps to address this, including establishing a task force for protecting peatland and also for preventing the forest fire. And that's the good side of how ASEAN play roles in.
There is small conclusion that communication for external public of ASEAN is clearer than communication for internal public in ASEAN. The motivation is clear, target easier to describe, economic, political, same interest for security and regional, but communication for internal public member of ASEAN somehow still weakness. Empowerment for PP initiative should be based on strategic plan, and mainstreaming ASEAN community empowerment based on uniqueness and Asian value. Academic community is one very important pillar to strengthen the existence of ASEAN community. Another perspective describing the negative impact of the ASEAN community.
So this is my last slide. Actually, challenge in the future is increasing digital literacy competence, one of for Southeast Asian women by having multi-stakeholders, regional collaboration. We should have sustainability programs, basic measurement for digital competence that still problems, effectivity of the programs, and also the equality, not only about the gender, but also rural, urban, race, ethnicity, religion, disability, LGBT, and other marginalized groups. And we can see that the regulation or policy is still biased gender. I think this is also the macro solution. But the important thing is women should not left behind in the digital transformation. I think that's all, and I think I take more time because we also have the discussion along. I give the presentation. Thank you. So I give.
That is also new frontier of South Asian study. Disaster prevention, disaster management is a new frontier of South Asian study. That this. Preventing the peatland fire mean the disaster risk reduction. So from the point of view also we can do study. So I think the study is frontier of South Asian study, and the study can be related to the economic.
So can the Taiwanese model be replicated in Southeast Asia? I think there is no clear model here. Basically, what we have is a pragmatic distancing, right? Separation of church and state. The religious harmony depends on decisions of religious organization to distance themselves and adopt civil religion. In this way, it is difficult to replicate in Indonesia and Myanmar because conservative religious organizations in both of the Southeast Asian countries compete for the domination of the public sphere. And religious harmony is actually about preserving the hegemony of religion.
And in the past, there were also inter-university collaboration, but most of them are bilateral relations. Okay, so two universities in two countries collaborate together. But now we have more inter-university collaboration among multiple countries. Okay, sometimes 3 countries involved, sometimes 10 countries involved. Okay, so these forms of internationalization are very active in these days.
I say, why is it self-destructive? Because if we keep on portraying ourselves as being a terrorist state, radical state, extremist state, people will see that picture of us, right? no doubt there's internal conflict here and there, but you take that to define the whole of Nusantara, to take that to define the whole of Indonesia, that is being self-destructive, right? That is that's non-productive, right? So and by the way, that is not the story of Indonesia. The story of Indonesia is that masjid that we saw just now. That is the symbol of Indonesia.
A democratic country which is ruled by the presidential government system, a president hold so many power, meaning that president becomes the center of the power, and president taking power as the head of the state and head of the government. So the position of the president is quite central in the Indonesian political system, and the leadership style of the president also likely will be likely to determine all of these things, like how the policy made by the bureaucratic institution, and also how the people also respond to the COVID pandemic related problem.
During the summer camp with the UGM, and I'm very happy and very excited to give my information about Korea and the Olympiaga. Hopefully it is helpful for all of your students and give some more the information about the relationship between the ASEAN and Indonesia. I know there are too many nationality, many kind of nationality students in here. But yes, in Korea, we are really consider of the relationship between the ASEAN. And most of the countries, and we try to more good relationship, and we really try to want to know more about the ASEAN countries.
Relations push the people move outside their countries, and the international migration is one of major phenomena. But at the same time, we see here is the South-South mobilities. It's become a new pattern, especially we experienced 2 years of pandemic. Many people, they cannot go out, but we still see the labor migrants play a very important role, play a very major role. Still, we see these mobilities between the countries in Taiwan and Southeast Asia countries.
And I definitely agree. We should think of not only our immediate interests, but our future interests. Not only our local interests, but also our, not only global, but our planetary, right? The health of our planet. I think it is not the time for us only to focus on the anthropos, on the human, the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene is focusing only on human, but we should also realize that human is an integral part of our.
Right. ASEAN is a multilateral regional organization. It is not a region, whereas Southeast Asia is a geographic region and it is not an organization. So keep that separate. I see on social media a lot of commentators, sometimes even among the media, mixing the two up, using Southeast Asia and ASEAN interchangeably. Now, power, institutions, and ideas shape a region's identity, but we also have to be proud of the fact and be very conscious of the fact that a region's identity is owned by its inhabitants. We must be owners of our identity, because the reality is strong powers will influence a region's identity to change or manipulate it for the benefit of their own national interest. So we must be very firm about.
We have a wonderful 20 days of sharing and learning on various topics on Southeast Asian studies. Time flies too fast. Nobody dare to compete. Yeah. On behalf of the team, of the whole team of PSSAT, or the Center for Southeast Asian Social Studies, the Department of Communication Science, University Gadjah Mada, allow me to express my gratitude to all of you who have actively participated in our summer school program. This yearly program is a platform to invite more young scholars, more colleges, more students from vibrant community and disciplines from different nationalities, to get more interest in knowing, learning, and researching Southeast Asia. As you can see, for example, from the very first day of our class, we have how many lectures, Mbak Nur? 15.
18.
18. We have 18 lectures from different nationality, from different disciplines, each of whom may have different perspectives, different lens, and approaches as well in seeing Southeast Asia. For example, even within a single discipline, on media and communication studies, on PIMPIAGA, on environmental studies on Southeast Asia, or even on our umbrella topic, reconstructing Southeast Asia, you see that scholars have different emphasis, different lens, different ideas about it. But what I want to say is that Southeast Asia is super rich in knowledge of historical, cultural, and social landscape. And I want to emphasize what also Prof. Munirah just mentioned. Southeast Asia is not static entirety. It is yet very dynamic. We are not provincializing Southeast Asia. Instead, we put it in an open way. And it is our job as scholars to learn, to report, and to share our analysis on the dynamic of Southeast Asia. All right, I don't want to share another lecture, and especially that it is weekend. I think everybody should enjoy the rest of the weekend very soon. So once again, thank you so much for your engagement. We are looking forward to your research, to your voice on your publication.
Summer course is part of the wonderful event actually, because for lecturers there are so many opportunities to share their research, and for students they could learn from any research finding, discuss it or present it in this session. And the most important thing is about network actually, because when we share some idea for doing research, there are potential network that it could generate.
This course is interesting and similar to you to do your research. Of course, Southeast Asia is so dynamic and quite abundant in the frontier studies.
This is my second time, and I'm very happy to participate because it's very impressively done. The students come from all over, and I appreciate that. I like the attempt to reach out beyond Southeast Asia to educate about our region.
It's a very good opportunity for me to learn from many experts and listen from many different perspectives about Asia.
To be honest, I think this is the best summer course I ever attended. The lectures, the scholars, they gave us a really good and rich, knowledgeable lectures, and the organizing committee which are organizing these events are maybe the best I ever witnessed in all universities that I participate.
Well, thank you so much, and see you next time in the next MMAT Summer Course Program 2022. Thank you so much, everybody.